My heart stopped for 8 minutes on November 14th, 2023. I died. But what I saw during those 8 minutes about 2026, it's unfolding right now, exactly as Jesus showed me. And what terrifies me most is that almost no one sees it coming. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm a trauma surgeon at Denver General Hospital. For 15 years, I've made life and death decisions in the operating room. I've held beating hearts in my hands. I've pronounced time of death more times than I can count. I've always been a woman of science, logic, clinical precision, faith. That was something I compartmentalized, something for Sundays, something separate from the real world of blood and scalpels and emergency rooms. But on November 14th, 2023, at 11:47 p.m., everything I thought I knew about life and death shattered. I was driving home after a 36-hour shift. My eyes were heavy, my body screaming for sleep. I remember the rain on the windshield, the blur of streetlights. I remember thinking I should have called an Uber. And then I remember the truck running the red light. The impact was instant, metal crushing metal, glass exploding, my airbag deploying too late. I felt my ribs crack. I tasted blood. And then, darkness. But not the kind of darkness you experience when you close your eyes. This was different. This was absolute, complete, a void so total that it should have terrified me, but instead I felt weightless, free. And then, impossibly, I was floating above my car, watching myself die. I could see the wreckage below me, the truck that hit me, its driver stumbling out with shaking hands, my own body slumped over the steering wheel, blood trickling from my temple. But here's what no trauma textbook, no medical journal, no neuroscience lecture ever prepared me for. I was more conscious without my body than I'd ever been inside it. How do you explain being awake when your heart has stopped? How do you rationalize witnessing your own death while simultaneously experiencing the most profound awareness of your life? That's when the paramedics arrived. I watched them pry open my door. I watched them check my pulse. And I heard the words that should have ended everything. No pulse, unresponsive. We're losing her. But I wasn't lost. I was more present, more aware than I'd ever been in my entire life. I tried to tell them I was okay, that I was right there, but they couldn't hear me. They started CPR. They loaded me into the ambulance. And I followed, floating above it all, watching my colleagues fight to save my life. Inside the ambulance, I heard one of the paramedics say, "Pupils fixed and dilated. She's not coming back." I heard the other one say, "Keep trying. She's young." And then everything went dark again. But this time, the darkness wasn't empty. There was something pulling me, a force I couldn't resist. I felt myself moving, accelerating through this void at impossible speeds. Fear gripped me for the first time since the accident. Where was I going? What was happening? And then I saw it, a light. But not like any light I'd ever seen in an operating room or emergency bay. This light was alive. It pulsed, it breathed, and it was calling me. As I moved toward it, the darkness around me began to change. I started to see shapes, colors, figures I couldn't quite make out. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Something I'd buried under layers of exhaustion and cynicism and professional detachment. I felt loved. Not the conditional love of relationships. Not the transactional love of family obligations. This was pure, unconditional, overwhelming love. It wrapped around me like a blanket. It filled every broken part of me. And here's what shattered my medical materialism completely. This love knew me. It knew every mistake I'd ever made, every cruel thought, every patient I'd failed, every prayer I'd abandoned. It saw all of it and loved me anyway. The light grew brighter. The pull grew stronger. And then I emerged into a place that human language fails to describe. It was like stepping into pure color, pure sound, pure feeling all at once. My senses were overwhelmed. It was so brilliant that it should have hurt, but instead it filled me with a peace so deep I could have stayed there forever. And then I saw him, Jesus. Not the painting in my grandmother's living room, not the statue in the hospital chapel, not the sanitized European-featured image I'd grown up with. Him. His presence was so powerful, so overwhelming that I fell to my knees. Or what I perceived as knees. I didn't have a body anymore, not really, but somehow I still experienced the act of kneeling, of bowing before something infinitely greater than myself. His eyes, God, his eyes. They held everything, all of history, all of eternity, every moment of joy and suffering and triumph and tragedy and all of human existence. And when he looked at me, I felt seen in a way that stripped away every defense, every pretense, every carefully constructed identity I'd built. He didn't speak with words, not at first, but I understood him perfectly. I felt his thoughts like they were my own. He showed me my life, not like watching a movie, but like experiencing it all at once from a perspective outside of time. I saw myself as a little girl, dreaming of becoming a doctor to save lives. I saw myself in medical school, determined and driven. I saw the first patient I lost, and the way I hardened my heart to survive the grief. I saw the relationships I'd sacrificed on the altar of my career. I saw the prayers I'd stopped praying because I was too tired, too busy, too convinced that I could handle everything on my own. I saw myself becoming exactly what I'd feared, a machine, efficient, competent, and utterly disconnected from the very thing that had called me to medicine in the first place, compassion. Shame washed over me, the same shame I'd felt in confession as a child, but magnified 1,000 times because this wasn't a priest behind a screen. This was Jesus. The one who knew every thought I'd ever had, every cruel word I'd spoken in frustration, every time I'd chosen my reputation over someone's humanity. I wanted to run. I wanted to hide, but there was nowhere to go. And even if there had been, his love held me there, not by force, but by invitation. He was showing me these things not to condemn me, but to free me. And then he spoke. His voice wasn't sound. It was knowing. It bypassed my ears and spoke directly into the core of my being. Sarah. Hearing my name from his lips broke something in me. You've spent 15 years trying to save lives, but you've forgotten how to live. The truth of it struck me with surgical precision. He was right. I'd become so obsessed with preventing death that I'd stopped experiencing life. I'd saved hundreds of patients while slowly dying inside. I have something to show you, he said. And his tone shifted. The warmth remained, but something else entered his voice. Something that made my soul tremble. Urgency. What's coming in 2026, he continued, will separate those who know me from those who only know about me. And Sarah, time is shorter than anyone realizes. The space around us changed. The brilliant light dimmed, and I began to see images, visions, unfolding before me like windows opening onto different moments in time. I saw chaos. I saw natural disasters of a scale I'd never imagined. I saw people running, crying, searching for safety that didn't exist. I saw leaders making decisions that would cascade into catastrophe. I saw the earth itself groaning under the weight of humanity's choices. And then I saw a date. Clear as day, unmistakable, 2026. Terror gripped me. Not because of what I was seeing, though it was horrifying enough, but because I understood what he was telling me. This wasn't some distant theoretical future. This was soon. This was real. This was inevitable unless something changed. Why are you showing me this? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Because you must go back, he said. You must warn them. Most of my children are sleepwalking toward 2026 with no idea what's coming. Time is running out. I shook my head. Tears I shouldn't have been able to cry streaming down a face I no longer possessed. I can't go back. I don't want to go back. Please, let me stay here with you. The peace in his presence was so complete that the thought of returning to my broken body, to the pain and exhaustion and the hollow rhythm of my old life, felt unbearable. But he took what I can only describe as my hand, even though I had no hand, and he looked at me with such tenderness that I felt my resistance crumbling. Sarah, I'm not sending you back to suffer. I'm sending you back with purpose. What you've seen, what I'm about to show you, will save lives. Not just physical lives, eternal lives. You wanted to be a healer. Now I'm giving you the chance to heal in ways you never imagined. And then he showed me more. He showed me specific dates, specific events. He showed me signs that were already beginning to unfold, patterns that anyone paying attention could see. He showed me that 2026 wasn't a punishment. It was a warning, a wake-up call, a final invitation to turn back before it was too late. He showed me a blood moon. He showed me a specific month when everything would change. He showed me why 2026 wasn't just another year on the calendar, but a threshold, a point of no return. And he showed me what would happen to those who were ready. The peace, the protection, the supernatural provision for those who had aligned themselves with him, who had chosen faith over fear, trust over self-reliance. But he also showed me what would happen to those who weren't. and it broke my heart in ways I didn't know were possible. "I don't know if I'm strong enough," I whispered. "You're not," he said simply. "But I am, and I will be with you. Every step, every word, every moment of doubt and fear. I will not leave you." I felt myself being pulled away. The visions faded. His presence began to recede, though his love remained like a warmth in my chest. "Wait!" I cried out. "I have so many questions. How do I tell people this? How do I make them believe me? Tell them what you saw. Tell them what I showed you. Tell them that I love them. Tell them that there's still time. But not much." And then I was falling, rushing backward through the darkness, through the light, through the void. I felt myself slamming back into my body with such force that I gasped, my lungs burning as they filled with air. Pain exploded through every nerve. My ribs screamed. My head pounded. I heard voices around me, frantic and urgent. "She's back! We have a pulse!" Pupils reactive. She's breathing on her own. I opened my eyes to the harsh fluorescent lights of the emergency room. Faces leaned over me, faces I recognized. My colleagues, my friends, people I'd worked alongside for years. "Sarah? Sarah, can you hear me?" I tried to speak, but my throat was raw from the intubation. I managed a weak nod. "You were gone," one of the nurses said, her voice shaking. 8 minutes. No pulse, no brain activity. "We thought we'd lost you." But I hadn't been lost. I'd been found. I'd been shown something that would change everything. Over the next few days, as my body healed, I struggled to process what had happened. Part of me wanted to dismiss it as a hallucination, a trick of an oxygen-deprived brain. That would have been easier. That would have let me return to my comfortable skepticism. But I couldn't, because I knew things I shouldn't have known. I remembered the exact conversation the paramedics had in the ambulance, words spoken when I was clinically dead. I described details of the accident scene that I couldn't have seen from inside my wrecked car. I told the trauma team about the debate they'd had over whether to call time of death, a debate that happened while I had no heartbeat. They couldn't explain it. I couldn't explain it. But it was real. And more than that, I knew what I had to do. Jesus hadn't brought me back just to return to my old life. He'd given me a mission, a message, a warning that people needed to hear. We're in November 2025 now. That means we have months, not years, months. The clock is ticking toward 2026, and most people have no idea what's coming. I didn't want this responsibility. I didn't ask to be the one to deliver this message. But I can't stay silent. Not when I've seen what I've seen. Not when Jesus himself looked me in the eyes and said, "Warn them." So I'm warning you. The blood moon he showed me. The specific month everything changes. The reason 2026 isn't just another year. These aren't vague predictions. These aren't symbolic metaphors. These are concrete realities that are about to unfold. But before I tell you the specific dates Jesus burned into my consciousness, before I share the timeline he made me memorize, you need to understand something crucial. You need to see what's happening right now that proves this isn't delusion. Because once you see the signs that are already unfolding, once you recognize the patterns that match exactly what he showed me in November 2023, you'll understand why I can't stay silent. Why I'm risking my reputation, my career, everything to deliver this message. What comes next will challenge everything you think you know about the future. But it might just save your eternal life. When Jesus showed me 2026, he didn't just show me dates. He showed me why. I remember his face when he revealed these things to me. Not just the prophecy, but the reason behind it. The pain in his eyes wasn't about judgment. It was about watching his children miss the warnings he keeps sending. Because here's what most people don't understand. When God reveals something supernatural like this, he doesn't do it in a vacuum. He weaves it into the very fabric of reality itself. The natural world reflects the spiritual realm. And right now, in November 2025, if you have eyes to see, the signs are everywhere. Look at what's happening in Israel right now. The tensions in the Middle East aren't random political events. They're prophetic markers. Jesus showed me how current events align with biblical prophecy. And when I came back, I started watching the news differently. Every headline about Israel, every conflict, every peace negotiation, they're all pieces of a divine timeline that's been written for thousands of years. In Matthew chapter 24, Jesus said there would be wars and rumors of wars, nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And he said, when you see these things beginning to happen, look up, because your redemption is drawing near. Every news headline you're seeing, he showed me this before it happened. The discussions about rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem, The prophetic significance of ancient biblical sites suddenly becoming geopolitical flashpoints. These aren't coincidences. They're divine appointments on God's calendar. And Jerusalem, always Jerusalem, the city that sits at the center of prophetic fulfillment. Jesus showed me why it matters so much, not just historically, but right now. The spiritual battle over that city isn't about politics. It's about the cosmic timeline God established before the foundation of the world. When I saw these visions during my near-death experience, I didn't understand all of it at first. But He was patient with me. He showed me how the spiritual realm operates on a different timeline than the physical world. How what seems like chaos to us is actually perfect order to Him. And this is why the first date matters. March 3rd, 2026. I saw this date written across the sky in my vision, not metaphorically, literally, like celestial letters burning with divine fire. And beneath that date, I saw the moon. But it wasn't the moon I'd known my whole life. It was blood red, crimson, like it was weeping. March 3rd, 2026 is a blood moon event, a lunar eclipse that coincides with a significant Jewish holiday. Now, some of you might be thinking, blood moons happen periodically. What makes this one different? Jesus showed me. This blood moon marks the onset of the tribulation period. It's the first seal opening. The 7-year cycle that prophetic scholars have been calculating for decades. It begins here. I remember the weight of that revelation. Standing in His presence, seeing that date, understanding what it meant. The grief on His face wasn't anger, it was sorrow. Deep, cosmic sorrow for what humanity was about to walk through. He showed me people going about their daily lives in March 2026, completely unaware, going to work, scrolling their phones, complaining about traffic. And then everything shifts. The spiritual atmosphere of Earth changes in an instant, like a veil being lifted. Or maybe dropped, I'm not sure which. But suddenly the supernatural realm becomes more visible, more tangible. I asked Him, why show me this? Why this specific date? And His answer broke my heart. He said, Sarah, I show you so you can warn them, so they won't be caught off guard, so they can prepare their hearts. But March is just the warning. May is when everything changes. May 22nd to 23rd, 2026. This is the window Jesus specifically highlighted. During my near-death experience, I saw what looked like a massive gathering. Millions of people, maybe billions, suddenly pulled upward, caught up, transformed in the twinkling of an eye, exactly like Scripture describes, the rapture. Now, I know some people debate theology around this. Different denominations have different interpretations, but I'm not sharing an interpretation. I'm sharing what Jesus showed me, what He specifically told me to tell you. The 7-year tribulation period, the Jubilee year numerology, it all points to this exact window. And here's what's remarkable. I came back from my NDE in early 2024. I had no idea about prophetic calculation methods. I wasn't part of any theological forums or study groups. But when I started researching what Jesus showed me, I discovered that prophetic scholars have been calculating this same timeline independently. The forums discussing end times prophecy, they're arriving at May 2026 through completely different methods. Biblical mathematics, feast day calculations, historical tribulation patterns. What prophecy teachers are calculating matches what He showed me. And this convergence isn't coincidence, it's confirmation. God doesn't leave His people in the dark. He sends multiple witnesses, multiple confirmations, so that those with ears to hear can prepare. I remember asking Jesus during my experience, what about the people who don't believe? What about the skeptics? And He said something I'll never forget. He said, Sarah, I've given humanity every sign, every warning, every prophetic marker they could possibly need. Those who genuinely seek truth will find it. Those who choose blindness will remain blind. This isn't speculation. This is what Jesus told me to tell you. But here's where the message shifts. Because 2026 isn't just about judgment. Jesus showed me something else, something beautiful. Psalm 126. He kept bringing me back to this psalm during my experience. When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dreamed. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. 2026 is about restoration. He showed me what He calls the pick-up sticks framework. You know that game? Where sticks fall in complete chaos, and you have to carefully pick them up one by one, rebuilding order from disorder. That's what 2026 represents spiritually. All the chaos of 2025, all the confusion, all the scattered pieces of our broken world, God is about to start picking them up, carefully, intentionally, rebuilding what was lost. For nations, this means spiritual awakening. For individuals, this means redemption opportunities. For the church, this means restoration to its original purpose and power. March 2026 is the warning. May 2026 is the gathering. But the entire year is a window. A divine window where God's hand moves in unprecedented ways. I asked him, what about restoration for people like me? People who've lived broken lives? People who've made terrible mistakes? And Jesus, with tears in his eyes, said, Sarah, that's exactly who I came for. The broken, the lost, the ones who think they're beyond redemption. 2026 isn't just about judgment. It's about me collecting my children, every last one who will say yes. He's giving us a window, but windows close. And here's what's so important about right now, November 2025. We're living in the final months before these prophetic events begin to unfold. The prophetic community is buzzing with anticipation. People like Joseph Z, outlets like Charisma Magazine, prophetic voices across the world, they're all sensing the same thing. The pickup sticks language I heard directly from Jesus. It's starting to appear in prophetic discourse. Independent prophetic voices are using this exact terminology without knowing I heard it during my NDE. Multiple streams of prophetic revelation converging on 2026. Different people, different backgrounds, different theological traditions, all receiving the same core message. That's not coincidence. That's God orchestrating a symphony of warning and hope. I've spent the last year wrestling with whether to share this publicly, wondering if people would think I'm crazy, wondering if I heard correctly. But every time I pray, every time I ask God if this is real, he brings me back to what I saw, what I experienced, the weight of his presence when he showed me these dates. And then he reminds me of my mission, why he sent me back. I didn't survive death just to keep quiet about what I witnessed. So what does this mean for you? What did Jesus tell me to tell you specifically? First, examine your heart, not your religious performance, not your church attendance record, your actual heart. Are you in genuine relationship with Jesus? Not religion, relationship. Because when May 2026 comes, if what he showed me is accurate, and I believe with every fiber of my being that it is, the question won't be, did you go to church? The question will be, do you know him? Does he know you? Second, repent. I know that's an old-fashioned word that makes people uncomfortable. But Jesus was very clear about this. Repentance isn't about shame or guilt. It's about turning around, changing direction, choosing life over death, light over darkness. If there's sin in your life that you've been holding on to, hiding, justifying, this is your moment. November 2025, we have months, not years, months to get right with God. Third, help others prepare. This message isn't just for you. It's for your family, your friends, your co-workers, that stranger you met at the coffee shop. Jesus sent me back to warn people, but I can't reach everyone alone. You're part of this mission now too. When I was standing in his presence, dying but more alive than I'd ever been, he showed me faces. Thousands of faces, millions of faces, people I'd never met. And he said, Sarah, they need to know. They need to hear. Time is running out. I died so you could hear this message. Don't waste it. My heart stopped for 8 minutes. 8 minutes where I left this physical realm and entered eternity. 8 minutes that changed everything. And in those 8 minutes, Jesus trusted me with a message that I'm now trusting you with. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a pastor. I'm not anyone special. I'm just Sarah Mitchell, a woman who died, met Jesus, and came back with a warning and a promise. The warning, March 3rd, 2026, and May 22 to 23, 2026 are dates you need to know. Mark them, prepare for them. Watch what happens. The promise. God's mercy is still available right now. His grace is still extended. His invitation to relationship is still open. But windows close. And this window is closing fast. This isn't my message. It's his. I'm just the messenger. A reluctant messenger who never asked for this assignment, but who can't escape the weight of what I witnessed. The beauty of his face. The authority in his voice. The love and grief mixed together as he showed me what's coming. November 2025. We have months. Look at the news. Watch Israel. Pay attention to the prophetic voices God is raising up. All the signs are there. All the confirmations are lining up. This isn't hidden knowledge. It's openly displayed for anyone willing to see. But if you're hearing this, you still have time. Time to get your heart right. Time to warn others. Time to prepare spiritually for what's ahead. Don't waste these final months in distraction and denial. Use them, invest them, make them count. I want you to do something for me. I want you to share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below if God spoke to you through this testimony. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories of people who've encountered Jesus in supernatural ways. Because you're not alone in this journey. Thousands of people are waking up to the prophetic hour we're living in. Thousands are hearing the same warnings, seeing the same signs, feeling the same urgency. You're part of a remnant that God is preparing for what's ahead. Jesus brought me back to warn you. Now you know. What you do with this information, how you respond to this message, that's between you and Him. But I've delivered what He asked me to deliver. I've been faithful to the mission He gave me when He sent me back. The rest is up to you. March 3rd, 2026, May 22, 23, 2026. Remember these dates. Prepare your heart. And most importantly, make sure you know Jesus. Not just know about Him, actually know Him. Because when that window closes, when that blood moon rises, when the prophetic timeline unfolds exactly as He showed me, the only thing that will matter is whether you're ready. Are you ready? That's the question Jesus is asking you right now. Not me. Him. Through this message, through these words, through this supernatural encounter, I experienced and lived to share. Are you ready? I pray that you are. I pray that this message finds you exactly when you need it. I pray that the same Jesus who met me in death meets you in your life right now, that His presence becomes real to you in a way you've never experienced before. Because He's real. His love is real. His warnings are real. And His promise of redemption for all who call on His name, that's real too. 2026 is coming. The prophecy is unfolding. The signs are visible. But today, right now in November 2025, there's still time, still grace, still mercy, still an open invitation from the God who loves you more than you can possibly comprehend. Don't wait. Don't delay. Don't assume you have more time than you do. Jesus brought me back from death to tell you this. Please don't let my 8 minutes of death be wasted. Let this message sink deep into your heart. Let it change you. Let it prepare you. And when 2026 arrives, when the prophecy unfolds, when the blood moon rises and the gathering happens, may you be found ready. May you be found faithful. May you be found in Him. That's my prayer for you. That's my message to you. That's what Jesus sent me back to tell you. Now you know. Now you've been warned. Now you've been invited. What you do next, that's between you and Him.